Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. How about it? It is Friday. December 20, closing in on Christmas here. Last show before the big weekend. Good to have you with us this morning. Thank you for joining us on Free Speech TV, where you can watch us, of course, DirecTV or the Dish Network if you got one of those satellites. And you can also watch the video stream. Good to have you on the video stream at TawkrTV. It's a whole new system, and we're very excited about it to help launch it with Talk Radio on TawkrTV. You get there by youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV. Yes, indeed, as I mentioned, this is the last day at the White House for President Obama before he heads off for a 2-week vacation in Hawaii. He'll leave the White House late this afternoon and arrive in Honolulu at midnight tonight, Hawaii time. Long flight, but a great vacation ahead of him. Meanwhile, the Senate yesterday, before they went home for the holidays, they passed the defense authorization bill, straight up bill with nothing in there about new sanctions for Iran, and sadly nothing in there about the problem of sexual assault in the military. Neither Kirsten Gillibrand's bill nor Claire McCaskill's bill or amendments were voted on. In other news, the insurance industry is out with its list of the 39 safest cars in this country. Take a look before you buy a new one. And if you shopped at Target, or Target as we call it, between November 27 and December 15 and used your credit card, and who doesn't, you better take a look at your credit card bill, because some 40 million Target customers have been victims of stolen identity. All that and more right here in today's Bill Press Show. Give us a call. Tell us what you think at 866-55-PRESS. Happy Friday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did stand up against our greatest threat? Did you commit to change the world?
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
We're fired up and ready to go. And guess what, folks? It is Friday. Yes, indeed. Whoa, Friday, February 20. We got an extra one in there anyhow.
Yeah, we'll sneak one in.
And as we know, Friday, our favorite day around the Bill Press Show. One more. Well, this is it because, you know, this is the Messiah. Everybody sings the Messiah this time of year.
Sure.
Right? This is our little version of the Messiah, except we do it every Friday throughout the year. Yeah. I haven't heard the Messiah yet this year. I'm going to have to
You need to go get right. You need to get right with the Lord, my friend.
I know. I'm going to download it maybe and listen to it on the way to California next week.
If you download it legally. Because if you're gonna illegally download the Messiah, I mean,
yeah, that would be.
You're asking for trouble.
All right, I'll buy it.
There you go.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Great to see you this morning. Here we go on a Friday, December 20. The Bill Press Show coming to you from a nation's capital, which is getting emptier and emptier by the day. The House is gone. The Senate wrapped up its business yesterday. Are they still around today for anything at all? I don't know.
I don't think so.
They put all the nominations off.
They put it off.
Sort of said, we've done all the work we're going to do for this year.
Head for Z Hills.
And President Obama, last day at the White House before he heads off for a 2-week-plus vacation in Hawaii. Sure they got Air Force One. They got the. It's already all cleaned up and ready to go. Doesn't leave until late this afternoon. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, out all across this great land of ours, on your local progressive talk radio station. Good to see you on the radio this morning, and also we welcome our viewers on Free Speech TV, on satellite dish, the direct TV. And on TawkrTV, that's our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And for those of you watching this morning, oh my!
Be careful. Did you stretch before you tried to pick that up?
I can't even lift it. And of those of you listening, I wish you could see this. I have in front of me, I kid you not, the biggest basket of goodies I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And, you know, over the years, I've gotten a lot of I've
Sure.
gotten a lot of these things at home from people who send them in, family members or whatever. This, I seriously, I can't lift this.
It's giant.
It is giant, and it from our good friends out in Chicago, Colatex Bakery.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've heard lots of good things about them, and I'm telling you, this is such a cornucopia of goodies. Thank you, all the good folks, Bart and all the good people at Colatex Bakery. Bart Colatex is the general manager.
There you go.
All right, that's why
family-run business.
That's why they call it Colatex
Is that
Bakery.
where they got the name?
Yeah, I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing. So it is. Wait a minute. On Harlem Avenue, right? 2445 North Harlem Avenue in Chicago. If I lived anywhere in the Chicago area, right, and I'm getting ready for Christmas, I would be heading today for Colatex Bakery.
Yeah.
And look at the stuff in here. We're just getting. I mean, there's salamis, there's cheeses, there are chocolates, there are cookies, there are
like a cured meat situation going on here, which is my favorite. Man.
This caught my eye. This is Pinot Noir wine salami.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Guess what? This would fit.
Yeah.
This would fit in my back.
Is that a salami in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me? You want to be careful where you put that.
Maybe I'd better not carry it there. Yes, right, indeed. Here's a little olive muffalata.
Oh,
I love that
man.
stuff. I love that. I mean, the other thing about this, these are the most creative, and you get. I don't know about you. I get a lot of baskets and fruit and stuff like that. That stuff you don't want.
Right.
You give away everything I've looked in here is something I want. Now,
big box of Belgian chocolates.
I'm gonna. Whoa.
Right.
That goes right back here.
I'm sorry, Mr. Press. Here.
Yeah, that's right.
Take that back.
Look
no!
Here it is.
No!
A beautiful, beautiful bottle of. This is a Côte du Rhône.
Côte du Rhône. Perfect for breakfast.
Perfect.
That's a good breakfast wine.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. Hey, guys, thank you so much. We are going to be digging into this all morning long. This chunk of cheese, is that what that is?
I think that's a candle, actually.
It's a candle?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I was going to bite into it. Thank you. Yeah, it does have a wick.
Give it a shot.
Has a wick. I know. You spread all this stuff out, then you light the candle, and then you dig in. So, call it... Chocolate Mexicano.
Oh, those are so good, those little bars. Little discs.
I've never had one.
Oh, they're fantastic.
This is Chipotle Chili.
They're fantastic.
Oh, my God. Anyhow, Merry Christmas. And
if you're not in Chicago, by the way, they have a website, Colatex Bakery, K-O-L-A-T-E-K, ColaTexBakery.com, and they have all kinds of stuff.
ColaTexBakery.com, so I'm sure they ship stuff out and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, obviously they did. They shipped this to us. So, peace and joy from Colatex. Thank you. We ought to put up a link on our website.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we'll be giving them shout-outs all through the show today. We have a lot of good friends joining us this morning.
I'm just moving it out of the way a little bit. I'm not trying to take your basket from you. I'm just moving it.
I'm just very, very nervous about you grabbing
I promise I'm not going to take anything.
I'm not finished with it. I want it right there where I can look at it.
You're scared I want to take something.
A lot of good friends joining us today. Susan Page on this Friday before Christmas from USA Today will be along, as well as Neil King, chief political reporter for the Wall Street Journal, will be here in studio as a friend of Bill. We will have a rare Friday appearance by Igor Volsky. His cat's doing a little better, so Igor is able to come in this morning on a Friday in studio with us as well. And Terry O'Sullivan, the president of the Laborers Union, one of our great and outspoken and articulate and fiery labor leaders in this country, will be here as well. A lot coming up. And what do you think about Duck Dynasty? But first,
this is the full court.
Oh, that's me actually.
Here's out of the basket.
I swear, I totally forgot. I was too busy looking at the basket. All right,
and get back to the full court.
Thank you. A couple of other stories making news. Pop Secret is reinventing the scratch and sniff. The microwave popcorn maker is experimenting with a kernel-shaped plastic plug-in called the inappropriate-sounding Pop Dongle. You plug it into the audio jack onto your iPhone, and it smells like popcorn while you play on an app that they've created with a little game on it. Pop Secret describes it as the first ever scented mobile gaming experience.
Well, why?
Why ask why?
I mean, why do you want to...
It's a little... you just plug it into your phone.
Well, why do you want to smell popcorn?
I mean, popcorn is popcorn is a wonderful smell.
I know it is, but I mean, so you do this while you're watching a movie?
No, you they have a little game that you play, and it's based on popcorn and Pop Secret, and so then you smell it while you play.
It's for the real popcorn enthusiast.
If you're a real popcorn enthusiast, yes.
Okay. That's one app I will not download.
Okay, all right. Another story. Defense contractor Lockheed Martin is the latest company to drop donations to the Boy Scouts of America. They cited the organization's continued discrimination against gay and lesbian scout leaders. Gordon Jondreau of Lockheed Martin said the company will not support nonprofit organizations that are not committed to diversity. You remember in May, the Boy Scouts of America voted to allow openly gay scouts, but still maintain that openly gay adults cannot serve as
I think it's a big deal when Lockheed Martin, big defense contractor, bows out of the Boy Scouts. Absolutely. Good for them. Yeah.
And Katy Perry had an embarrassing lip-syncing moment halfway through her award show in Cannes, France, earlier this week. She was halfway through her song Roar when a French man appeared on stage, greeted her, and said, "If you don't mind, we need to restart. We had a little problem." That little problem was that the entire wrong track was being played, and she was singing the wrong song. The music stopped, the song starts over, and Perry, clearly singing, not sounding quite so pitch perfect this time around.
That's worse than Beyonce.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
Beyonce was in front of 1 million people on the mall, too. Yeah, so, right. Okay.
There you go.
Now, I hate to do it. But we got to talk about Duck Dynasty. It is probably the stupidest scandal that we've heard, or scandal that we've heard in a long time. It's come upon us all of a sudden right here at the holiday season. But damn it, everybody is talking about it. And I just want to, with you, let's talk about it, because I'd like to get set the record straight. You probably have heard, I mean, if you are on this planet, you must have heard about the fact that, so this show, Duck Dynasty, of course you've watched it. It's like the most watched cable TV show.
Very popular.
If it's not number one, it's way up there on the A&E network. And it's all about these yahoos, rednecks in the South, right, dressed in camouflage and spend all their time killing ducks, right? Or
pretty much.
Game or whatever. Yeah. Well, Phil Robertson, who's one of the 4 leading characters in it, actors, Phil Robertson, it's not enough for him to play a redneck on TV. He's got to prove that he really is one, right? Yeah. So he gave an interview to GQ magazine, why, who knows, in which he just spilled his guts, all right? And he said, here's who I am. First of all, he said, I'm a Christian, okay? And as a Christian, number one, he talked about African Americans in this country and said, you know, they were happy in the pre-civil rights days. There was nothing wrong with them. He said, he used to, I'll just read his quotes. I never with my eyes saw the mistreatment of any black person. He's talking about, okay, back in the 50s, 40s, 50s, whatever. Not once. Where we lived, we was all farmers. The blacks worked for the farmers. I hoed cotton with them. We're going across the field. They're singing and happy. I never heard one black person say, I'll tell you what, those doggone white people. They were happy. They were godly. They were singing. So everything was fine. Yeah. Of course, he doesn't talk about the fact they couldn't vote, right? Black women, wasn't safe for them to walk in the street. If they did anything wrong, no trial. They were lynched. I mean, come on, right? Black schools, black water fountains, black stores, black churches. Yeah, those were the days. Phil Robertson says they were good days for the blacks. They liked it back then. They were happy. Yeah. Then he goes on to talk about...
And that is such an old school form of racism that's been around for a long, long time.
Having grown up in the South, I'd heard that
when
I was growing up, too. I mean, that kind of nonsense. And then he was asked about homosexuality, and again, why is he volunteering all this stuff? And he says... homosexuality is sinful. It says, they ask him, why is it sinful? And he says, quote, start with homosexual behavior and just morph out from there. Bestiality, sleeping around with this woman and that woman and that woman and those men. Don't be deceived. Neither the adulterers, the idolaters, the male prostitutes, the homosexual offenders, none of them, they won't inherit the kingdom of God.
Homosexual offenders.
It's not right. Oh, yeah. So he lays all this hatred out there, all this bile out there. And what happened is A&E said, whoa, dude, you're giving us a bad name. You don't speak for us. You're suspended because of those comments. And now the right-wingers, the conservatives, are all coming out to defend this guy. Sarah Palin, of all people, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, Bobby Jindal, and they're all saying, number one, that his First Amendment rights were violated, and number two, this is the fact that he was suspended is anti-Christian crusade, part of a war on Christianity. You know what? BS. I wish I could say that word on the radio. Total nonsense. They're wrong on both counts. First of all, his First Amendment rights weren't violated. He's not in prison. The government didn't arrest him. The government didn't shut him down. The government didn't silence him. The government had nothing to do with this. His boss said, I don't like what you said, and I don't like you're representing my company. Boss has got a right to do that. Don't get me wrong. Phil Robertson's got a right to say any dumbass stuff that he wants, but his boss has a right to fire him, too, if he says it.
Yeah.
You know? You're working in a convenience store, and you're attacking gays and blacks and anybody else who walks in there. You can say it, but you don't work there anymore, right? That's what that is. And as far as anti-Christian, you know, I got news for Phil Robertson. It's not Christian to hate gays. It's not Christian to say that segregation is good for blacks. Not all Christians are homophobic bigots. Phil Robertson, everything he said was wrong, and his boss had every right to didn't even fire him. He suspended him. I hope he fires his ass.
He the whole point of the show, right, is it follows them and their company. They founded this company, Duck Commander, Duck Call.
Right. Yeah.
He owns his own company. If he had an employee that went out there as one of his employees saying something out of line, he has every right to say, hey, dude, you can't come in here as my employee and tell me that you think all people from the South are stupid or whatever. And he would pick your stereotype. He has the right to fire him.
Let me say the same thing, right? I mean, I love all of you, for the four of you, right? But one of you says stuff like that on this show.
Yeah.
You got a right to say it, but I got to tell you, you're not going to say it on my radio show anymore.
That's right.
Your ass is out of here.
That's right.
So, I mean, why this defense of Phil Robertson? Come on, let's set the record straight about Duck Dynasty. 866-55-PRESS. Good start Friday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, Phil Robertson, again from Duck Dynasty, who's been suspended, right? Talking about LGBT community and homosexuality. He says, quote, "It seems like to me a vagina as a man would be more desirable than a man's anus. That's just me. It's not logical, my man. It's just not logical." All right, for those comments and others about blacks, he's been suspended. But Sarah Palin comes to his defense and says, free speech is an endangered species. Those intolerance, hating, and taking on the Duck Dynasty patriarch for voicing his personal opinion are taking on all of us. What a lame brain idiot is Sarah Palin. This has nothing to do with free speech. Again, he can say whatever he wants. The question is, does your boss have to tolerate it? Does his boss have to tolerate it and accept it as a spokesperson for the boss's brand? You know, he's got his company, the Robertson family. That's what it's all about. Made a lot of money, right, as rednecks in the South. A&E's got its brand.
The other thing about this, the fact that Sarah Palin weighs in, remember the last time that we had a big dust-up about something like this was when Martin Bashir said something, which was out of line.
Yeah.
He said something about Sarah Palin, and they were demanding that he be fired from MSNBC.
Yeah, how about Martin? Good point. How about Martin Bashir's free speech?
Yeah,
by the way?
First Amendment, right?
By the way, he's a jerk. He should have been fired,
Absolutely.
too, I believe. Frank is calling it out in Chicago. Hey, Frank, how are you?
How are you, Bill?
Good. What do you think?
Well, I do agree with him being released or suspended, I guess you could say.
Uh-huh.
As far as being crucified for the things he said, I mean, my grandmother and grandfather would speak the same way, kind of the way he is. Maybe it's just the way he was raised or the way he grew up. And to me, the way I read the article was that he's just explaining to like how he was his situation when what he was saying was hoeing in the fields, right, or doing things in the fields on his farm.
Uh-huh.
So that was his situation, his point of view at that time. Was it right or wrong? I mean, that could be for anybody's sake, right?
Yeah, but he also says, Frank, that he really believes that blacks were happier then. They were happy then. There's nothing wrong with the way they were treated. I mean, again, he's got a right to say it. You can be dumb as hell, right, and say dumb stuff in this country, and nobody's going to get in your way. Nobody got in his way. His boss just didn't happen to like it. And by the way, Frank, do yourself a favor today. Go to Colatex Bakery, Chicago.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
All right, here we go again. 35 minutes before, 35 minutes after the hour, 25 minutes before the top of the hour here on the Bill Press Show. Friday morning, we've been talking about Phil Robertson, suspended from Duck Dynasty. A lot of the fans of the show, and it is one of the most popular shows on cable television, a lot of fans of the show are circulating petitions to get Robertson back on the show, which, again, that's fine. That's fine. Agree or disagree with what he said, you may want to see him back on the show. But here's one that gets me. One of the groups that's circulating these petitions is called Faith-Driven Consumer. Faith-Driven Consumer. And what they say is that Mr. Robertson's comments in GQ magazine, I'm reading from their website, are simply reflective of a biblical view of sexuality, marriage, and family. This really, really offends me. That's not what Christianity is all about. He does not speak for all Christians. I would say he doesn't even speak for most Christians. There is nothing. Read Gene Robinson, Bishop Gene Robinson, who's been a guest in here, Episcopal bishop, right? There is nothing. Or talk to Pastor Frank Schaeffer, who just got suspended from the Methodist Church. They know their theology. They know their Bible. There is nothing in the Bible about same-sex marriage. There is nothing in the New Testament, in the Gospels, I should say. St. Paul's a different story. Nothing in the Gospels about homosexuality, right? This is the far right trying to base their homophobia and their bias and their discrimination in the Bible. And it should be offensive to all Christians. And there's certainly nothing in the Bible about blacks were a lot happier when they were slaves. Woo-hoo! They used to sing in the fields, man. They didn't want freedom. They didn't want integration. No, they didn't want civil rights. They were happy back then, says Phil Robertson. Yeah, if he were my employee, I'd fire him too. Melvin's out in South Bend, Indiana. What do you say, Melvin?
Well, first I'm going to say good morning to you, Bill. I thought I was through with you this week.
Good morning.
But here we go with Duck Dynasty.
What do you mean you thought you were through with me this week?
Well, I'm trying to get out of town.
Oh, okay. Hey, so am I, Melvin. We're both still here. All right. What's going on?
What bothers me with the comments of Robertson is the fact that every time they try to use Christianity as their cover.
Yes.
And it makes no difference what it is, how it's done, as long as they can go back and say, oh, well, I'm a Christian. There's no Christians on TV or walking around on this planet better than the Pope, who shows what a Christian is all about. And yet they want to say he has a right. Yeah, he has a right. Let him get out of Louisiana and go on the west side of Chicago and see how much happiness is there.
Good point.
Good, excellent point. You know what, Melvin? The Pope, remember what he said about gay priests? He said, who am I to judge, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Not only that, they didn't comment on what Rush said about the Pope.
Yeah, right. Called him a communist and the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's okay for Rush.
Oh, no.
It's okay that Sean Hannity was involved in it, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, let somebody say something about another human being's rights, which the Constitution is supposed to uphold, yet they jump right into the Bible.
Melvin, I'm glad you didn't leave town because it's good to hear from you. You are absolutely right. Yeah, they cloak their hatred in the under the cover of Christianity. That is so offensive. Yeah, and it's important that all of us just don't let them get away with it. Thanks, Melvin. Merry Christmas to you. Thank you for calling. And on a related story, I mentioned Frank Schaeffer, right? Mm-hmm. This pastor, I find this really, really sad that the United Methodist Church would defrock, basically, talk about throwing somebody out, not for the right reasons, that they would defrock this pastor, Pastor Frank Schaeffer, who has been, his parishioners, or do you call them that in the Methodist Church?
I think so, sure.
Whatever. The members of his church loved him, loved his work, very, very supportive of him, and yet the Methodist Church threw him out because, in their minds, he committed the sin of performing or conducting a same-sex marriage for his son.
I was hopeful that it wouldn't come to what it has come to, my defrockment.
But they did defrock him. They voted yesterday. He was given a choice. He said, you either change your ways and promise that you'll never conduct another same-sex marriage, or lose your right, your ministry. But Reverend Schaefer said, well, according to the Episcopal Church, he may longer be a minister. In his own mind, he always will be.
I will not give up the fight. I am still a minister in my heart, and I will continue to minister. I will continue to be a voice for the LGBT community.
And again, it's just, I find it sad that one of our biggest denominations, one of our biggest churches, the Methodist Church, and I always thought of them as a pretty reasonable, not crazy, right wing.
Right. I remember when I was a younger man,
Hillary's a Methodist.
Yeah, well, I was brought up in a Southern Baptist church, and I finally, at some point, I said, "This is crazy. I don't want to go to a Southern Baptist church." And my parents said, "As long as you live with us, you're going to go to church. You just don't have to go to this one. So you could pick another church you could go to." So I went to the Methodist church in town, and that was my first introduction to anything other than Southern Baptist. And I remember thinking, this is a whole new world of acceptance and understanding, and not everything is outlawed like it is in the Southern Baptist Church. And I always thought, my impression, having gone there, is this was a much more progressive type of religion. And it really bums me out to hear that.
By the way, what am I thinking? I just realized I totally forgot for a second. I used to belong to the Methodist Church.
There you go.
When I studied for the priesthood, as you know, in the seminary, when I left the seminary and went to San Francisco, I went to a couple of Catholic churches, and I found them really boring. And I joined the great, great Glide Methodist Church with the Reverend Cecil Williams. I was a member of Glide Methodist Church. But you talk about not condemning homosexuality. I mean, Glide is the first place that I met transvestites and all kinds of people living in the Tenderloin in San Francisco, and they were all part of God's community at Glide Methodist Church. And prostitutes, drug addicts, everybody was there. And it was a great, plus some of the wealthiest of San Francisco's residents and hippies like me,
Sure.
It was a great, great church. It still is doing incredible things, and with this great liberal tradition. And maybe that's not the same branch of the Methodist Church as this guy was part of, but I think it's a real tragedy. By the way, we should, on that subject, mention New Mexico.
Yeah. New Mexico now, so marriage equality is the law of the land in New Mexico. The state Supreme Court unanimously ruled yesterday that same-sex marriage is legal across the state. So it's the law. It is the law in New Mexico.
State after state after state, and the District of Columbia. The truth of it is, you cannot look at the Constitution. Forget this narrow interpretation of the Bible that some people have. You cannot look at the Constitution and come to any other conclusion other than that same-sex marriage is perfectly okay under the law. Susan Page joins us next from USA Today. She's the Washington bureau chief for USA Today, and a Friday morning guest on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, The decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go at 13 minutes before the top of the hour on a Friday morning, December 20. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital and our studio here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Boy, every day this town's getting. Peter is still digging into the big Colotex basket.
I keep looking.
Is there going to be anything left?
Stuff, man.
Is there going to be anything left for the rest of us after you take all the goodies?
I'm just looking. This is like a smoked salmon, beef jerky type situation. It's like a little smoked salmon sausage.
All I got to say is this is the one day that Susan Page is going to be sorry she was not in studio with us because. Susan, we have the... Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Susan, the Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, great friend of the program. We have the biggest gift basket any of us have ever seen in our lives.
Giant.
It's so big that the cameras can't find us because we're hidden behind this big gift basket. So.
I'm assuming there's some kind of Bill Press gift basket that comes to the people who appear on your show.
It didn't arrive yet?
I haven't gotten it yet.
Oh, God.
Oh, geez.
Peter, get that
Yeah,
basket.
get right on it.
Get
right on that.
So, Susan, on the President Obama, let's put it this way, didn't get much of a gift this week on the intelligence operations. The NSA, it was a bad week, for those defending NSA this week?
Well, an incredible confluence of things. A judicial decision,
right.
The report of an advisory committee, a tough meeting with tech executives.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could look at it as a bad week. You could also look at it as an opportunity for the president to sort out what exactly he thinks ought to happen in terms of American surveillance of its own citizens and of the world, and that could be a big part. We use the L word a lot for second-term presidents. That could be a big part of his legacy. I wonder if it's a problem he, in a way, might welcome because of that opportunity.
That's an excellent point. I don't know whether you had a chance to read Ryan Liz's piece in the New Yorker last week about this whole spying operation and how it all evolved, but. He points out, I mean, I had forgotten this, if I ever knew it, that when he was a senator, right, Barack Obama was Ron Wyden's partner in pushing for reforms of the NSA. And so this is his as you point out, an opportunity for him. Now that he's got this judge saying it's probably unconstitutional, and that his own review panel says it's out of whack, right? And we got to rein it in. He's got an opening here, doesn't he?
And, it's interesting because he has the perspective of someone who came at this before he was in the White House as kind of a civil libertarian.
Yep.
From one point of view, I think as president, you have a different perspective on some of these intelligence issues. So maybe he is very well suited to try to figure out where the balance ought to be.
And let's not forget, he is a professor of constitutional law.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's
so he's
right.
got that background as well. Speaking of openings and opportunities, one could see this budget deal that has now passed both houses of Congress as the same opportunity, no?
Well, you could see it as a kind of a green shoot, right? Because at least they reached a deal, although it is the smallest possible deal.
Right.
It deals with none of the big issues or fundamental conflicts between the two sides. On the other hand, when was the last time we went into 5 days before Christmas and we weren't facing some kind of end-of-the-year crisis over funding the government?
No, it doesn't really seem like Christmas without it, right? I mean, think about it. The president's going to get on Air Force One today and go to Hawaii and not have to send the kids and the wife off and stay behind, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to Hawaii and he's going to stay there until the 5th of January.
Yeah.
And probably no, he won't. He won't have to come home and deal with a budget crisis.
So maybe that changes the temperature a little bit in Washington.
Yeah.
Although it did not to be too Pollyannish, we do have a fight coming up over the debt ceiling in February. We'll see how that goes.
Right. No, but it does seem that at least there may be a glimmer of hope that having come together on a budget deal, they might be able to say, this is a way to get things done. Maybe we could do this on immigration reform, right? Is that like too much to ask?
I think that is too much to ask myself. I think immigration reform is just the issues too much define the two parties. I think Democrats would not be willing to compromise on a path to citizenship, and I don't think Republicans will be willing to go that far. But you could do some other things. You could do, for goodness sakes, a farm bill after.
Yeah. Hello, right.
And some of the other things that have just been, and you do see some of these with the use of the nuclear option in the Senate. You do see some of these backed up nominations now beginning to move forward. And I think that even while Republicans are angry over the use of that rules change, it does maybe signal a little bit of government starting to move. Right.
And they're going to everybody knows they're going to confirm Janet Yellen.
Yes.
Right? They just have to put it off now until after the first of the year. But without giving them we're giving them some credit for getting something done, I was surprised that they passed this defense authorization bill. And the big battle was between Claire McCaskill's approach to sexual assault in the military or Kirsten Gillibrand's approach, right? And they did neither. So they leave town without doing anything about that problem, which I find pretty shameful.
Yeah, and which, believe me, is coming back.
And
and one more reflection of the power of demographic change in the U.S. Senate, because 20 women united on this issue. Not united in the approach, but united in the importance of the issue. That'll be back.
No, absolutely. That is not going away. Both Kirsten Gillibrand and Claire McCaskill, they're both fighters. They'll get something done there, for sure. Yeah. You have big holiday plans, Susan?
My holiday plans are to stay right here. I'm very sad that you won't be doing a show next Friday, so I won't be able to get up at 6 a.m. and try to get prepared to talk to you.
We'll give you a week to sleep in. I'll be on the West Coast, but we'll talk to you early in 2014.
Hey, have a great Christmas.
All right, Merry Christmas. Thanks, Susan, to you and Carl. Great friends. Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief, usatoday.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek, now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bell Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the products suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the next hour, Neil King from the Wall Street Journal will be here as a friend of Bill, and a rare Friday appearance by Igor Volsky from Think Progress. You don't know how lucky you are. Igorians, rejoice. Joy to the world.
Yeah, it's a Christmas miracle.
It is, yes. And the star will be shining overhead. What's up, Peter?
Quick story. If you shopped at Target between November 27th and December 15th, remember those days, December 27th and December 15th. If you shopped at Target, you could have a problem. 40 million credit and debit card accounts were affected by a data breach at Target, one of the biggest chains in the country. So that data was breached, and someone may have your information.
They hacked into the system, and when you swiped your card, that information went right to them. They could sell it, to somebody else, and there it is. Man.
Be on the lookout.
Target, be careful. All right, when we come back, Neil King, Igor Volsky in the next hour. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. How about it? It is Friday, December 20, closing in on Christmas here. Last show before the big weekend. Good to have you with us this morning. Thank you for joining us on Free Speech TV, where you can watch us, of course, DirecTV or the Dish Network if you got one of those satellites. And you can also watch the video stream. Good to have you on the video stream at TawkrTV. It's a whole new system, and we're very excited about it to help launch it with Talk Radio on TawkrTV. You get there by youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR-TV. Yes, indeed, as I mentioned, this is the last day at the White House for President Obama before he heads off for a 2-week vacation in Hawaii. He'll leave the White House late this afternoon and arrive in Honolulu at midnight tonight, Hawaii time. Long flight, but great vacation ahead of him. Meanwhile, the Senate yesterday, before they went home for the holidays, they passed the Defense Authorization Bill, straight up bill with nothing in there about new sanctions for Iran, and sadly, nothing in there about the problem of sexual assault in the military. Neither Kirsten Gillibrand's bill nor Claire McCaskill's bill or amendments were voted on. In other news, the insurance industry is out with its list of the 39 safest cars in this country. Take a look before you buy a new one. And if you shopped at Target, or Target as we call it, between November 27 and December 15 and used your credit card, and who doesn't, you better take a look at your credit card bill, because some 40 million Target customers have been victims of stolen identity. All that and more right here on today's Bill Press Show. Give us a call. Tell us what you think at 866-55-PRESS. Happy Friday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Did you commit to change the world?
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yeah, they suspended Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty, and they should have. He's a homophobic bigot. Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is the Bill Press Show. This is Friday morning, December 20. It's good to see you today. Thank you for joining us here as we boom out to you live on your local progressive talk radio station all across this country. From our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., you can also see us on Free Speech TV and follow the video stream on TawkrTV. You know, we're going into the holidays. We want to give all of our favorites one last shot at the Bill Press Show for 2013, and one of our most favorite guest and most frequent guest, Neil King from the Wall Street Journal. We like him so much because he lives right around the corner.
And this basket you all got for me is huge.
I mean, we want you to show, Neil, our appreciation for you.
Wow, I don't even know where to start.
Well, start by telling me, have you ever seen a bigger gift basket in your life?
No, and the things at the bottom are probably getting crushed by all these things on the top. I mean, it's kind of scary. And
I don't even know what's at the bottom. We haven't even made it all the way down
What's the theme? Just sort of warm and cozy stay-at-home weekend?
Sure. That's a hell of a weekend, man.
I like your scented candle here, Bill.
This candle is in rock salt. Look at that. Or right?
I think so. I haven't licked it yet to make sure it's salt.
It probably weighs 3 pounds.
I'd recommend you not light that. Yeah. Rock salt can explode.
But here's the deal. This basket came to us yesterday from Colatex Bakery in Chicago. They're at 2445 Harlem Avenue in Chicago. And good friends of the program. And here this thing arrived. It's just fabulous. I mean, look at all the goodies in here. I was saying, if I lived anywhere in the Chicago area, I'd be making my way this morning to Colatex Bakery.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, what was the address again?
2445 Harlem Avenue in
Thank
Chicago.
you. I appreciate that.
They also have a website, Peter.
They do. ColatexBakery.com, folks. Check it out.
Well, they're getting their money's worth here this morning.
K-O-L-A. We got our money's worth.
You know what's interesting?
K-O-L-A-T-E-K.
I looked this up because they make these in-house. The smoked salmon cabanos. It's a smoked sausage. It's just like a Polish sausage situation, but they use salmon.
Well, the one that appeals to me is this Pinot Grigio wine salami.
You got everything in one.
In one, right. So I'm heading to the West Coast on Monday. I think this might be in my...
you might have some problems with that salami in your pocket.
At TSA?
TSA might fill you up.
Yeah. Don't try to play hide the salami with the TSA, okay?
That was Howard.
You know what I'm talking about?
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, Peter's here, of course. Elisa Murphy's here.
Good morning.
Alicia Cruz has got the phones covered. I don't even think we said hello to everybody. And then Cyprian Boulding. You know what?
There he is.
Is Santa white or black? Look at... Cyprian's got his...
Take that, Megyn Kelly. We've got our black Santa.
Take that, Megyn Kelly is right. Cyprian Boulding is here. So, anyhow, solve that riddle.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
And now, Neil, before you leave, you get your pick
of one thing from here. I will not take your salami.
Well, there's another one. There's a Pinot Noir salami.
It's all good. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
about
you're
that,
serious?
right?
I get to take some out of here?
Serious,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So you can look through and browse. There's lots of good chocolates in there and all kinds of good stuff. Coffee and...
Nice.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Aren't you glad you came in?
Yeah.
By the way, on the news of the day, Congressman Trey Radell from Florida, who was arrested for purchasing crack cocaine here in the district, right? He came out of rehab yesterday, had a news conference. Everybody thought he was going to resign from Congress. No, he didn't. He just said basically, I did this, but I did it not on company time.
This was my personal issue on personal time. It was after work.
So it's okay, right? If you break the law
As
after
long
work.
as you don't do crack under the dome of the Capitol,
Right. That seems to be his creed. And he also, a little notorious when he was arrested because he was one of the champions for having people who get food stamps be tested for drugs, right? Has he changed his mind, given his experience?
With drug testing for Food Stamp Republic, I think members of Congress can and should be tested as well, and maybe it'll help someone else in the future.
So he's continue to test the food stamp people and then test all members of Congress.
I guess he's wishing that he had been caught through the testing.
Instead, then he would be a better man.
Right? Doubling down, you know?
Yeah, what a loser. Anyhow, we got Neil King here with us this entire hour as a friend of Bill, and Igor Volsky from Think Progress. I know he's usually here on Tuesday mornings, but he'll explain why he was not able to be here Tuesday, but he joins us at the half hour, and we'll get right into the news of the day. But first,
this is the
Peter
Full Court
with,
Press.
Full Court Press.
A couple of other stories making news. China and the United States are in a race to develop new cloaking technology to hide military tanks and other weapons. China announced this week that a new stealth technology can bend light around an object to conceal its presence and even change its form. The future is now, gentlemen.
Harry Potter?
Yeah, seriously. With the help of over 40 research teams that have developed the concept over the last 3 years, the U.S. military has expressed interest in technology called adaptive, which could be transferred to other platforms such as ships and helicopters to help cloak those large weapons.
So you can't, like, radar wouldn't pick them up? Or
That's right. Totally throws it off.
Yeah.
A Boston Marathon bombing survivor is marrying his rehab nurse, James Costello, whose body was badly burned and shredded with shrapnel in the blast, will soon marry his nurse. He popped the question to her in Lyon, France, during a trip with 100 other survivors of the bombings, along with the family members and first responders, courtesy of a Boston travel agency. Sent them all to France, and while he was there, he popped the question, and she said yes.
Nice to have a happy ending to the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could
You
see
didn't
why.
run that marathon, did you?
No, I did not. No, that one you have to be pretty speedy to get
A friend
into.
of mine is running it next year, and he got in through one of the charity things.
You are pretty speedy. You told me your last time was...
It was speedy, but it was about 9-10 minutes slower than what you have to qualify.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not, and you can do the charity route too.
Yeah. The insurance industry, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, has given out its top ratings for vehicle safety. Yesterday, they gave 39 vehicles the top safety ratings for 2014. What's interesting about this is last year there were 130 on the list, and this year there were only 39.
Yeah.
Honda seems to be seems to have more than anybody else on the list. They break it down by size. Mini cars, the Chevy Spark. Small cars, the Dodge Dart leads that one. Mid-size cars, the Dodge Avenger. The mid-sized luxury Acura. So there's a whole list. We're going to tweet it out at BP Show. You can see if your car is on it or not.
But, you know, the cars that were at the very top of this have what they call crash avoidance technology. So, like, if you're going down the road and there's a car stopped in your lane or something, the car will tell you, stop. And if you don't, it puts the brakes on itself.
They call
it's amazing.
They call it front crash prevention is the technology that they're using.
Well, they're doing all this stuff to develop these self-driven cars, and they're just taking a lot of the technology from that and putting it in the cars that are driven by people. Who
it almost takes the fun out of driving, doesn't it?
I think it'll be
element of danger.
You're right. I mean, they have these. Google's got self-driven cars now that are in the Bay Area.
Right.
They use them every day.
And the more they put in, the easier it is to text while driving. More of this technology, it just allows you to be distracted.
Yeah, which is probably why they're doing it, right? Yesterday, Neil, at the White House, Jason Furman, head of the Council of Economic Advisors, came in with a pretty rosy picture of where the economy is today. And the Fed, actually, this week also said the economy seems to be doing so well that we could ease back on our buying of bonds. All of this add up to good times? Or
I mean, it was amazing about that day in a way. We'd all, every time that Bernanke had hinted at pulling off of this whole program that they've been doing to sort of juice the economy, the stock market kind of freaked out about it.
I know, yeah.
And the other day when he did it, in part because they said they're going to do it gradually, but also because he spoke kindly of the economy going forward, the stock market took off. I think it's hit like 47 records this year. I looked, actually. It's amazing that it's up almost 150% from the lowest point it was at in Obama's presidency, which was March of 2009. 150%. That's amazing. But so it's...
what's also amazing to me is that I never yet heard the president or anybody in administration crow about that.
Yeah, I know. It's. I guess part of it is the disconnect because there's still a lot of hurt out there all over, and there's a lot of wage stagnation to say the least, and the unemployment rate is still 7% or higher, and the reality is there's a smallish percentage of people who are making tons of money, and the stock market went up like 25%. The Dow went up like 25% this year. I mean, that does a lot to a person's portfolio, but that's not being shared by all. But there is just that sense, and Furman reflected it, the market has reflected it, the conduct and the activities of the Fed have reflected that the economy is picking up. They did the GDP revised third quarter. I think it was like 3 point something, which is pretty good compared to what we've seen. If we, just flip over a tiny bit into the political scene, if this, continues this way, it's going to help Obama, obviously, get out of the trough that he's in at the end of this year, which is a pretty deep one right now.
Right. But on the indicators, and Furman went through the indicators yesterday, the job market, the housing market, I mean, with the indicators, what should be up is up, and what should be down is down.
Yeah.
And so it looks like there was talk about a double dip recession. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, we seem to have moved out of that. And even the really troubling stuff, which is still there, long-term unemployment, things like that, is beginning to ease somewhat. You get the feeling that the market is strong enough now to be pulling even people that have been out of the market for some time back into it.
So if there was good news on the economic front, there was not such good news for the president this week on the NSA front and the intelligence gathering front. Like boom, 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 right? A judge says it's
probably
unconstitutional.
Unconstitutional, yeah.
He meets with the tech leaders who are not happy because their customers are not happy that they have to surrender all this information to the government. And then he brings in his own panel that he has to look at this, and they basically say this is out of whack, right? Out of control.
I think it's pretty clear when he gives this speech, which he's going to give next month, by all appearances, right? Isn't that what you're hearing?
In January.
Yeah. He'll rein back a bunch of things, I think, and I don't know what the dimensions that is, but whether Ed Snowden should or should not have been the person of the year, he has had a huge impact on our the way we see foreign intelligence.
We wouldn't know about it without him.
Yeah, and he's looking pretty good as this moves forward. I mean, it's hard to see how they would try to bring him back here and try him for things that are now being seen as unconstitutional in their own right. It's been a big shift there. And, the judge, I think there was something written interesting in the Washington Post today with some legal minds kind of taking it to Richard Leon, the U.S. District Court, who did the ruling on Monday, saying that it was that his ruling was like out of step with what precedent is. And but I think that's less relevant in some ways than this whole report that came back from all these folks that have worked in the intelligence community. And one of the things that caught a lot of people's attention was the idea that gathering and just having in store all this huge log of who called whom, when, and all that hasn't really done us much good anyway. And there's no reason, I'm sure this is probably what one of the things Obama's going to put forward, that which is what they're saying in this report, that the telephone companies who already keep all this so-called metadata would just have it on hand, and if then there was a need for the government to know something about, hey, do you have anything on this phone number receiving any calls during this period of time? Here's a warrant. Okay, here's what you need to know. Instead of the government being the keeper of all that information.
I thought that was the. By the way, my column, Peter, I don't think it's up yet on the website, right?
No, not yet. No.
I did my column yesterday on this called "Edward Snowden's Revenge."
Yeah.
Will be up soon on our website at BillPressShow.com. But I think that the main, there are 46 recommendations of this panel. Certainly, the number one is the one that you just mentioned. That, we store all this data, but the phone companies, which have it already, they're the ones that keep it. And when NSA says, I think Ogburn may be up to something with some people in Pakistan, then you go to the court, you get a warrant, just like you have to do today if they want to search your home, right? You have to show cause, probable cause, whatever. And then they say, okay, and then you ask the phone company for that information. So we don't lose the records, but it's not the government doing the snooping. I think President Obama's got to go for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's right. I mean, that's one of the things I think he's going to put forward.
Yeah, and maybe he goes back to some of the things he said about NSA when he was a senator, and he seems to have forgotten when he was president. Yeah, indeed. 866-55-PRESS, you know the toll-free number. Use it. Join the conversation here with Neil King, Chief Wall Street Journal, on this Friday edition of the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
25 minutes after the hour. Friday, December 20, a party day here at the Bill Press Show. Neil King, he heard there was free food around, and so from Wall Street Journal, he rushed over
it out.
There's word out around the neighborhood, a little buzz here. Hey, go by the Bill Press studio today.
Big gift basket.
Big gift basket from Kolatex Bakery in Chicago.
Speaking of which, by the way, so they're on Twitter at Kolatex Bakery, K-O-L-A-T-E-K-S Bakery. So they responded because we were asking about what this was, this candle holder with a candle. Yeah. It is a Himalayan pink salt candle holder with a natural beeswax candle. So it's Himalayan pink salt candle holder, which is really cool that it's a candle holder. It's got a little carved out situation there for you to put you could hide your weed in there if you wanted, or you just put your candle there. You know, you're good to go.
Those candles are actually good for your health.
What are?
See, I'm a health nut, so this is perfect.
The rock salt, the salt is actually good for your health.
Yeah, okay. Bill.
Who knew? All right.
If you lick it like a deer.
Do you know what I read this morning, earlier this morning in the New Yorker, apropos of nothing? That the salt that we put on the highways, right? You know, the people's salt. Where do you think that comes from?
The Himalayas?
Pretty close. Chile.
Wow.
New York City gets all of the salt it puts on its roads from Chile. And it comes in, obviously, by boat, right?
Right.
We also get some people buy the salt from Egypt. And there's one other country that where we import this salt to
and we put it out in great abundance before snowstorms that never happen.
Of course,
yeah, exactly.
Boy, I'm sorry about that tangent because we ate up some time there that I want to ask you about. Is the president, as he heads off to Hawaii this year, is he over the hump on healthcare?
Things have been kind of generally tilting in the positive direction, right? I mean, the enrollment numbers have been much more robust, and the sort of general buzz has turned a little bit positive. But they're still, they're pecking away. Last night they issued this ruling, which rulings issued in the dark of night are usually a little bit suspect, or the kinds of things they're wanting to not have too much attention paid to. It, basically gives yet more leeway to people and that can take catastrophic plans and all this various sort of stuff. But it's another brick being pulled out of the wall that's supposed to be so meticulously built, and the insurers are now up in arms about this. It's a lot of governing by fiat kind of thing, where it's like, oop, that's not working. Oh, we're going to change that rule. Oop, that's not working.
Right.
So I think that's going to soothe some nerves and rattle others.
Yeah, the latest is that some of the people who did lose their health insurance, after all, when the president said nobody would, they're not going to be penalized and they're going to be given a pass, basically, for at least a year or something. Do you get the impression that this wasn't all very, very carefully planned out?
Bill. I get a little bit that impression.
Igor Volsky with Think Progress joins the team here coming up
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour. Happy Friday, December 20. It is the Bill Press Show. We are your morning radio show live on your local progressive talk radio station. Proud to be there. And thank you for joining us and dialing in. Also, you can find us on Free Speech TV if you got a satellite dish. And you got anything electronic, you can follow the video stream on your iPad or your laptop or whatever at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. What a big morning with Neil King, the chief political reporter for the Wall Street Journal, here as a friend of Bill. And we are joined, I know it's Friday, not Tuesday. You may be a little thrown by this.
People are so confused right now.
I know. But for the Igorians of the world, we couldn't let the end of the week go by without bringing Igor Volsky back. Here this week because he couldn't make it on Tuesday. Hello, Igor.
Good morning, Bill. Even though my cat is still sick, I'm here with you.
That's loyalty.
Loyalty.
You know? Judy is going to make it?
I hope so. I don't know. I mean, she's not eating. So any tips, please call.
Oh my
At
God.
this point,
Here we go.
I mean, three veterinary visits later, $500 later, there are no answers.
Maybe you should upgrade her food.
Oh, I've tried everything: wet, dry,
Tuna.
dry, wet.
Igor Volsky is managing editor for Think Progress and the father of Judy. And Igor, I have to explain.
Yes.
You may not be able to see, if you're watching, any of the three of us because we're all hidden behind the biggest gift basket in history. Certainly the biggest one I've ever seen. And this came to us yesterday from Colatex Bakery out in Chicago. All of our good friends there. And they are big sponsors on WCPT, our big affiliate in Chicago. And they got this
this looks marvelous.
This has such great stuff in it. That's a Pinot Grigio salami.
Wow.
There is a Pinot Noir salami.
Why aren't we drinking
here.
the wine yet? What time
I never
is it?
heard of this.
This could be what saves Judy. Smoked salmon.
Oh, yeah.
Judy might like that.
They're so thoughtful over there.
We keep
something for everyone.
Discovering stuff in there. This olive muffalata. This is great stuff. I love this stuff. And this is the mild, and there's a spicy one, too. At any rate, thanks to all of our friends at Colatex Bakery. And if you're in the Chicago area, get your ass down there today. And, you could get half of what's in this basket, and you'd have a great big Christmas. They're at 2445 Harlem Avenue. Neil gets, because he was here at the top of the hour, Igor, he gets first pick, and then you can take home
coffee.
anything.
It was probably kind of lame, but I mean, it looks good. Yeah.
You already picked.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
maybe I'll swap it out.
All right. Before you go,
I'll
Igor,
take
help
a look.
yourself.
There's just so many,
Help yourself.
options here.
All right. Let's talk about some serious stuff. Did A&E do the right thing in firing or in suspending Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty? I mean, this is the most important issue of the day. You'd have to, in terms of hours on cable television, it is.
I just want to put everything that went on this week into one big bundle. I think Phil Robertson should be Santa, and Pajama Boy could be his elf. And they could travel around the country,
Yes.
white Santa from the bayous of Louisiana with Pajama Boy.
Even bigger ratings. For
it would bring it all together.
Boy, talk about two silly scandals that we're dealing with, right?
And he wouldn't. And you could be an elf in the onesie. You wouldn't even have to change, right?
Yeah, no, that's what they wear. I am not sure. So I've been, kind of following this out of my right eye because of Judy. I've, been very busy. And so I don't understand why the gay comments, repulsive obviously, why no one then is talking about the comments he made about African Americans and Jim Crow laws and that entire aspect of that story, and why if Ted Cruz and Sarah Palin and Bobby Jindal coming out and kind of saying this is a freedom of religion issue, but they seem to not mention the Jim Crow component of this scandal, which is really kind of beyond outrageous to me.
Well, they're saying two things. They're saying that his First Amendment rights are being violated. That's a First Amendment issue.
I mean,
and it's a Christian bias issue, right?
Right. Well, let's break this up. I mean, first of all, the government did nothing, right? So he can publish his work anywhere he wants. He can do whatever he wants. It's just that if A&E makes a commercial decision that says we don't think it's profitable for our network to have this guy on our air, then they're within their full right to do so. Just like he can say anything, they can make a commercial decision to take him off.
Yeah, let me stop you right there. Is this a First Amendment issue?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's what Igor said. He can go off and do whatever he wants in some other place. I mean,
he can say whatever he wants, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
his right to say it on the show that they own isn't part of the First Amendment right. I'm not sure they're making the right commercial decision myself.
Yeah, I don't know either. This is what the head guy of the show.
Yeah, he's the head guy of the show, and the fan base is not going to be happy. Although you'd have to say any show can do without one character.
I guess they don't. They just don't want to stir up whatever kind of animus towards A&E in general, I assume.
So it's not. I think we all agree it's not a First Amendment right. But then the second. So then, what about the cloak of Christianity? I mean, he says, "I'm a Christian, and I'm just." And a lot of the people circulating the petitions to keep him on the show. One of the main groups is a Christian organization that says he's just reflecting the biblical view of marriage and family.
I'm not Christian, but if I were Christian, I would be offended that this is how my religion is represented. I mean, this is a fringe view, frankly, among Christians, among Catholics. I mean, this is 2013 now. We're moving into 2014 very quickly. The number, we as a country have progressed. People around the world have progressed. The Pope is so much more welcoming of gay people. And when you hear this guy make these comments and then conservatives in this country rush to his defense, I mean, I don't think that's the state of Christianity in 2013, frankly.
The Pope said, Neil, but he was asked about priests who happen to be gay, and the Pope said, who am I to judge? Right.
Yeah. He said a lot of things lately like that.
Well, he has. I want to come back to, because you're right, so much focus on the homophobic comments. He also said about the days before civil rights, they were good days for blacks in the South. He said, I never with my own eyes saw the mistreatment of any black persons. They worked in the fields for the farmers, and they were singing and they were happy. They were singing while they were hoeing in the fields, and as slaves, they were happy. Yeah. I mean, I've heard that statement before from people who are pretty big in it. And this is supposed to be the Christians speaking, right?
I mean, they built a show around some really funny backwoods guys in the distant bayou or wherever. I guess that's upstate Louisiana. I'm not sure exactly where they are. And they are where they are, and this is it coming back to bite them, right?
Yeah,
because they're fun to watch. They're kind of, they have their duck calls. They go out and they shoot geese or turkeys and stuff. And it's humorous. And then you send a reporter out from another world to talk to him, and lots of other stuff's going to come out.
And that's really the other fascinating aspect of this, is that these people make a reality TV show, but clearly the network only wants that tinge of reality that is commercial. Yeah. When it gets too real, that's when they shut it down.
Let's talk. You and I, all three of us, have talked a lot about healthcare. Neil and I were just touching on this, Igor, before you came in. There's yet another change announced last night. Another relaxation of one requirement in the rollout of the Affordable Care Act.
Well, so this is
another bump in the road.
Another bump in the road. Another delay for people. Look. If you have if your policy was canceled, you're an individual market, you're one of these 5-6 million people who have this skimpy plan, who got the letters. Now you have an option. You can either go without insurance for a year and be exempt from paying the penalty, or you can enroll in these catastrophic policies that are open to people under 30. Now, if you're over 30, you can also go on these plans as a temporary measure. I'm kind of two minds on this. I've been thinking about it this morning. On one hand, I understand why the administration really wants to help people who thought they could keep the coverage they had, as the president had said, who now have more flexibility, more time to adjust. I mean, I think those are generally good things. But on the other hand, I also see this as very politically motivated because you're in a situation now where, for the second time this year, Republicans have been able to convince Democrats that keeping people in these either crappy individual plans or these high deductible catastrophic policies is actually good healthcare policy. I mean, Republicans have been promoting catastrophic plans for years. That has been their entire healthcare solution, really. Put people into high catastrophic policies, and everything else, if they get sick, they'll pay for, right? And now it looks like the administration and Democrats are to some degree agreeing with that theory of healthcare. And I don't think that sets very good precedent. I mean, there's also a lot of kind of policy questions here. Will it work? What happens to the exchanges? Are the markets destabilized? But at its core, this conceit that catastrophic plans are a viable healthcare option, that's really what worries me.
But Neil, it seems to me that they're almost making these decisions on the fly, aren't they? Right? And if I were an insurance company, I'd be confused as to what the rules are.
Yeah, you read the rule. I mean, for one, who are all the people that are going to be going online to wherever this edict has been posted to then find the latest twist in what they do or don't have to do? And it's just sort of this heaping of this kind of bureaucracy upon bureaucracy, and it's like, oh, now I have this other out. But I agree. One of the premises of the whole thing has been to boost the quality and the coverage of what it is that people have overall. And now they're tilting exactly in the opposite direction for overwhelmingly political reasons.
But in so many cases, they seem to be going like full steam ahead here and insisting, no, this we're going to, and then they say, oh no, we changed our mind. All right, now we're going to, now you don't have to pay the penalty, or now you don't have to do that. And it so keeps,
it must be a really strange experience for those people who are caught in this maelstrom and having to figure out what to do, right? I mean, and
what's going to happen tomorrow? Do I even have to buy? Let's just wait a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll get another reprieve, right?
Right.
Or really more relief, rather.
All right. We'll get into this a little bit more when we come back here with Neil King and Igor Volsky. And you can join the conversation anytime at 866-55-PRESS. Duck Dynasty, come on, that's something you want to talk about. And your experience with trying to buy insurance on healthcare.gov.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
And here we go, 11 minutes now before the top of the hour. Neil King is here from the Wall Street Journal as a friend of Bill of wallstreetjournal.com. No, WSJ.com. What am I saying? Right? Mm-hmm. And Igor Volsky for a rare Friday appearance, managing editor of Think Progress at thinkprogress.org. Gentlemen, thank you again for coming in. We have a budget deal. President's going to sign it today before he leaves for Hawaii, I'm sure, if it's ready enough. Otherwise, he'll sign it in Hawaii. We all know it's not such a great deal, but the fact that they made a deal at all, Neil, is pretty good news.
Yeah, it's been what, 2 years, more than 2 years since they did anything.
I think maybe more.
Yeah, at all similar to that. So people were heralding, wow, a new era in Washington, a new moment. It was, you got the feeling, and there have been other things since the deal was made in the House, well, between the two and then passed in the House, that the fever has sort of broken maybe a little bit. Among House Republicans in particular. I mean, there was a whole Boehner outburst about the outside conservative groups. And, we've heard some stories about some of the kind of more reactionary or sort of revolutionary House members early this year that had voted against John Boehner for Speaker and now kind of coming back and saying, I want to be back in the fold and put back on various committees. And there's a little bit of a sense that things have turned. I mean, Paul Ryan, has since said they're still going to fight and demand more things in the debt ceiling fight, but I don't know if I buy that there's going to be a big moment of brinksmanship over that. I don't. Do you think there will?
I don't think so, but the very fact that on the same day that he did his kind of Sunday show sweep last Sunday to talk about the deal, he also tried to appease conservatives and say, oh, guys, don't worry. I know you're not too happy about this deal, but we'll have something in the debt ceiling. Just shows they're trying to play both sides and trying to please those outside conservative groups. But I also think the fact that we're now seeing this push by folks in the veterans community and others against a specific cut in the deal, the way pensions are calculated for military retirees, shows you, which was a Paul Ryan idea, something Paul Ryan pushed for as part of this deal, shows you that when Paul Ryan's cuts, his theoretical cuts and caps, are actually put into practice, Republicans revolt against them. This is the second time this has happened where you have his drastic cuts. Folks just aren't. You have Kelly Ayotte, Lindsey Graham saying these cuts run too deep, which I think kind of is another crack in this image of Paul Ryan as some great conservative budget thinker, because he's had the luxury of just thinking and not doing. Now that he's doing, there's a lot of pushback within his own party.
Well, now the fever may have broken a little bit. Does this portend that in 2014 there'll be maybe more cooperation on issues like a farm bill or like immigration reform? Or
I think there will be on some of these things. My bet is that it's fascinating because one of the series of schedules that none of us are really paying attention to, which is like weirdly important within the Republican circles, are filing deadlines for primaries.
Yes.
And basically all those filing deadlines will be passed by about March something or other, at which moment, and this literally is the way that John Boehner and others are thinking, there's certain things that we need to do collectively as a party, but also as a country, like immigration reform, but we can only move forward on that after the moment where all these firebrands might suddenly say, I'm going to primary all these people.
That's really key. And I know the thinking in the immigration reform community is we might have some movement in March or April after those deadlines are passed. Absolutely.
After those deadlines. Okay. Hey, guys, thank you so much for coming in today. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Happy New Year.
And we will see you in 2014.
Absolutely.
Next time around. All right. And don't forget, before you leave, you all get to dig into the Colatex Bakery goodie basket here. I'll be back also and tell you what the president's up to today. Air Force One.
He'll be glad.
Ready to go.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek, now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the products suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
All right, friends and neighbors, one more hour to go here on the Bill Press Show. Hey, we lose you on Free Speech TV. Sorry about that. Not our choice. It's their choice. But we continue with our video stream, so pop on over to TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. You want to stay with us because Terry O'Sullivan, the very colorful, outspoken president of the Laborers Union, will be here on the program to start off the hour, and then we'll be joined by John Nichols of The Nation magazine with Nation's list of the top progressives of 2013. One more hour coming up.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Magazine here with the lineup of the leading progressives of 2013 as voted by readers and editors of the Nation magazine. With the president scheduled today, he gets the daily briefing this morning. Then he's going to meet with his senior advisors. Some of us are still hoping to hold a little news conference at the White House before he leaves today, but
clock's ticking, man.
None has been announced so far. The only other thing on the schedule is at 6:45 tonight, he heads out to Andrews Air Force Base, leaves Andrews at 7 o'clock on the way to Hawaii. They arrive in Honolulu at midnight, Honolulu time. I don't know. If I were going to Hawaii for a 2-week vacation, I'd be on a plane before 7 o'clock tonight.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I'd be taking an early morning flight. But the president wants to get a full day in before then. We'll be back with Terry O'Sullivan, head of the list.
This is the Bill Press Show. broadcasting around the nation on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, when you say dumb things, your boss has a right to fire you for doing so. And A&E had every right to fire or to suspend Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty. Good morning, everybody. Great to see you this morning. It is a Friday, December 20. This is the Bill Press Show. We are coming to you live from our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill, bringing you the news of the day from here in Washington, around the country, and around the globe. And, of course, taking your calls at 866-55-PRESS. It's good to see you today. We got the whole team here in place with Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy and Alicia Cruz and Cyprian Bolding wearing his Santa Claus hat this morning. And we are celebrating the holidays. Those of you watching on our video stream will see it, and those of you listening on the radio, you will not believe it, with the biggest Christmas basket ever made and ever received by anybody. This came to us from our good friends out in Chicago, Kolatex Bakery, K-O-L-A-T-E-K, Kolatex Bakery at 2445 Harlem Avenue. They are good friends of ours and big sponsors and supporters of our great progressive affiliate in Chicago, WCPT, and we thank them for all the goodies. And we are already. I want you to know I've already opened up the chocolate covered almonds. Peter.
Nice.
I'm sorry, yeah, and they're.
I may have had a couple of those. They're pretty good.
Yeah. And I can't wait to open up the Côte du Rhône wine here. But we're going to wait until after the program to start that.
Yeah, well, you really should wait until 9 a.m. to do it.
And, of course, one of the main sponsors of our program, and has been for a long time, is the Laborers Union of America. LiunaBuildsAmerica.org is their website. No better friend of the program, no better friend of working men and women around the country than the president of the Laborers Union, Terry O'Sullivan, who joins us on our newsline this morning. Terry, Merry Christmas. How are you?
Merry Christmas to you too, Bill. How's my good, fine union brother doing today?
Listen, I'm more proud than ever to be a union brother this morning. Yep, and I think I'm up to about 32 years now, Terry. So
fantastic, Bill.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what do you think? You're probably as upset as I that the United States Congress goes home for Christmas, but they can't find time to do anything about extending unemployment insurance benefits.
No, they go home to celebrate the holidays, and they put a lump of coal in working families, those looking for a job, in their stocking. So it's really repulsive when you think about it.
Well, in terms of priorities, right? They got time for all this other stuff, even fixing the benefits that they pay docs who are treating Medicare patients, right? Which may be important, but these people who've been out of work for a long time and still looking for a job and get no help at all.
That's right. The unemployment rate, while going down, is still high, Bill. And I mean, I think the positives out of this, if there is any, is that the budget bill does show that Congress can actually get something done. And that part is encouraging, but it's disappointing about some of the aspects of the bill. I mean, we're not happy that it puts more of the burden on federal employees who have already been through furloughs and cuts. And as you've just mentioned about not extending the unemployment benefits. So we have a lot of work left to do. But it's better than sequestration, and it's better than gridlock.
That's right. Yeah,
so it's a starting. I look at it as a starting point.
There are those good benefits of this, the pluses about this deal. It's just disappointing they weren't able to get this done. Do you think we'll see some action in January?
Well, certainly hope so. I mean, maybe this is a turning point. Maybe it's not. With what John Boehner has said regarding the Tea Party extremists. And at least getting this budget deal done. Maybe this is the pivot point for us to get comprehensive immigration reform, pension reform, get onto a highway bill, get this water bill passed. So we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic, but we've been cautiously optimistic before as well.
Yeah, I heard yesterday at the White House, and I forget now exactly how many times these unemployment benefits have been extended, by a bipartisan vote with no controversy year after year after year, and yet this year they couldn't get it. We've also seen, Terry, no action on the minimum wage. What do you hear about that, and how important is that?
Well, it's extremely important. The minimum wage does need to be increased. Those of us in the Washington, Baltimore metropolitan area have seen progress in D.C., in Montgomery County, when it comes to the minimum wage, and the federal government needs to do something about it. We don't hear enough about it on the Hill, as far as there is support, but is there enough of support? There's still enough opposition, I think, by Republicans, particularly the Tea Party House Republicans, that I think it's going to be difficult to get, but we need to keep pushing for it.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been dealing with this issue since I went to work for Governor Jerry Brown, the first time around in California, right? And we heard way back then, 25 years ago, right, this argument, if you raise the minimum wage, John Boehner keeps saying this, if you raise the minimum wage, it's going to cost people their jobs because employers are going to have to pay more and everything. That's never proven to be true, has it?
It has not. And Bill, look at it. I'd like to see any politician that opposes it, all right, have to live on minimum wage. Because
Amen.
Maybe they'd have a different perspective if they had to live off of $7.25 an hour and see if they could provide for themselves, let alone their families.
One of the most effective movements that I've seen lately is this the fast food workers movement, right? Can't survive on $7.25.
Yeah,
they've been very effective, I think.
It has been very effective, and hopefully something that we can replicate across this country, not only for fast food workers but for all workers.
How's the job situation look now for your union laborers, for the construction business, and for infrastructure now, Terry? Any pickup?
There has been a pickup, Bill. Towards the middle of 2013, things started to pick up. We're hopeful that 2014 is going to be even stronger. A lot of it is going to be predicated on what we do with this reauthorization of the Surface Transportation Act, the highway bill, which comes up for reauthorization October 1st.
Next October.
Next October.
Yeah.
But it's been extended too. I think it's about 7 or 8 times now. And, we need to figure out as a country, are we going to allow our transportation infrastructure to continue to crumble, or are we going to put our money where our mouth is and not end up with a third world transportation infrastructure, but do what we do best, and that's build America.
We in many ways have just about a third world infrastructure in some areas, don't we, in terms of bridges and highways?
I mean, we've already seen bridges falling, unfortunately. I mean, I-35 in Minnesota, the I-5 bridge in Washington State. The American Society of Civil Engineers bill says that we need $3.7 trillion, not billion, just to get our transportation infrastructure where it should be. So what we have to figure out is, I was recently at a press conference with Representative Earl Blumenauer from Oregon about a gas tax increase, which nobody wants to talk about, but we have to start talking about how we fund and repair and rebuild our crumbling transportation infrastructure, and we're going to have to pay for it. And whether it's a gas tax, whether it's vehicle miles traveled, or all of the above, public-private partnerships, we have to figure out how we get this thing done.
Terry O'Sullivan, our guest president of the Laborers International Union of North America. Terry, I remember on that issue of transportation, the transportation bill, the highway trust bill, Ray LaHood, who until recently was our Secretary of Transportation, and then before that, Republican member of Congress of Illinois, he was a champion of this legislation. It was always, this again was a bipartisan vote where people could always come together and saying we got to keep our highways updated, right?
Absolutely. And there's a lot of unlikely allies, with supporting the gas tax increase. I mean, you've got the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. You've got AAA. You have ASHTO. You have all of the road and transportation builders. So this is something that has across-the-board support. But, in Congress, talking about a tax increase is sacrosanct. So we just have to figure out how to pay for it. And I think that Representative Blumenauer's proposal is fair and realistic. It raises the gas tax by 15 cents over the next 3 years and then indexes it to inflation. And over the course of the next 10 years, calls on Congress to figure out how it is that we fund our transportation infrastructure going forward, with or without a gas tax.
Right.
So I think it's one of the most thoughtful proposals that I've seen in a long time.
Well, yeah, he's a good man. We'll have to get him in and talk to him about that. I'm glad you mentioned that. You know, I was at the White House last week for our holiday party, annual holiday party for the White House press corps, Terry. And before I went, we asked our listeners and our viewers here on the show what I might mention to the president in that little bit of time you have, you know, when you get your picture taken with him. And I can't tell you how many, the majority of our callers said, mention the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP. This is a big deal, this trade deal, right?
Without a doubt.
What are the issues that you see it? What are the problems with it?
Well, as always in these trade deals, going back for decades, you know, the labor rights, labor protections is a huge issue with not only TPP but every trade bill that has been passed.
Starting with NAFTA, right?
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with trade, but let's do it the right way, not the wrong way.
And are those? I mean, who objects to these protections of labor rights? Is it the other company or our company or country? We're just not pushing it enough, or what?
Yeah, I mean, you get pushback from the other countries, and up to this point in time, to be quite honest, the U.S. has caved in almost all instances when it comes to the labor protections that are needed in a fair trade bill. So, you know, we can blame the other side, but there's blame on our side as well.
Is the administration open to you and other labor leaders to talk about these issues? I mean, do you feel you have, you're able to at least get your voice in and make your arguments?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's not an issue. The issue is getting these trade bills passed with the fair labor protections has been an issue, quite honestly.
So you get your voice heard, but they hear your arguments, but they do anything about it, I guess, is a follow-up, right?
Well, that's right. Not enough has been done. Let's put it that way, Bill.
Right. What do you see? Just the final time we have together here. Every year we see, it seems, that the number of American workers who are members of an organized labor union goes down and down. What is it now, 11% or something like that? What is the answer? Why is that happening, and what can we do about it?
Well, I think what we need to do, we had a golden opportunity that was missed in changing the labor laws in this country. And it hasn't been done. It needs to be done. What we need to do is have a fair system that isn't tilted towards employers, but
EFCA, right? Wasn't it?
That's right. That's right. Yep. The Employee Free Choice Act.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get that done, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that it still doesn't need to be done. We need fair and balanced labor laws in this country. I mean, you look at the polling; you've seen it before. The majority of Americans say that if they, that they would join a union if they could. And what we need to do is take down the barriers that impede working men and women to forming and joining a union of their choice.
Yeah, well, that's still a priority. We shouldn't give up on it, not for sure. Terry O'Sullivan, thanks so much for your strong support of the show from the very beginning, my friend, and thank you for your time this morning, too.
Thank you, Bill. Merry Christmas.
All right, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Let's take back the house in 2014, Terry. That's what we ought to do. All right, Terry O'Sullivan, president of the Laborers Union of North America, LIUNA, LIUNA.org.
This is the Bill Press Show. Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. It's 24 minutes after the hour now. John Nichols, Washington correspondent for The Nation magazine, joins us in the next segment. The Nation has done its annual survey of the leading progressive voices of 2013. Earlier in the show, we talked about the safest cars. This is the end of the time of the year when we all have lists, right? People make lists. And with the safest cars, now we'll have the most progressive voices from John Nichols coming up.
Quick story that I found this fascinating. Major General Michael Carey is with the Air Force. He was relieved of duty in October, and it wasn't exactly clear why. Well, yesterday, the report on his firing was made public, and we found out exactly what happened. In June, he went to Moscow.
Did he attack gays and blacks like the Duck Dynasty guy?
No, he didn't do that. But he went to Moscow in June and essentially made a total ass of himself. When he was in Moscow, he went on a bender. He started drinking before he even got to Moscow. When he got there, picked up some local women.
I've been to Moscow.
Went out to the bars.
The best thing to do if you're going to Moscow is to start drinking before you get there.
Yeah, right. He was bragging, saying that he was going to help get Eric Snowden. He tried to repeatedly perform with a bar band at the bar that he was with. He kept trying to get on stage. He shouted in the bar and bragged that he, quote, saves the world from war every day. He is in charge of 450 nuclear missiles.
What?
And he went to Moscow on a drunken
was the Air
bender.
Force Secretary?
He was with the Air Force, Major General Michael Carey with the Air Force.
I see.
And he was in charge of their arsenal.
So he's now out of a job.
He's now out of a job. Because he went to Moscow and got loaded and bragged about how he saves the world because he's got his finger on the nuclear button.
I would say, with clearly referencing Duck Dynasty, that this guy also should be out of a job.
Yeah.
And he was able to say anything he wanted to say in Moscow, but that does not mean that the Air Force had to accept it and tolerate it. Now, I want to see if Sarah Palin's going to defend him.
That's right. You and I can go to Moscow and go on a drunken bender if we want to.
Sure. And say all kinds of dumbass things,
That's right.
Okay, so Sarah Palin, are you going to defend this guy? Sean Hannity, are you going to defend this guy
Come
too?
on.
Yeah.
Come on out.
Right. There are very few people, you know me, that I hate. I mean, I've been I debated Bob Novak, God rest his soul, Pat Buchanan, all these conservatives, Tucker and Mary Matt. I don't hate any of them, right? They're all friends of mine, and Bob was a friend of mine when he was still alive. There are very few people I hate, but one of them is Hannah Diem. Okay, now she's only 9 years old, but I do hate her. If you don't know, Hannah Diem, 9 years old, became yesterday the youngest person ever to bowl a perfect game. 300. Here is what she said it was like.
There was a large crowd around me. You could hear a pin drop when I got up.
You could hear a pin drop, which is kind of funny because obviously all the pins dropped.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
When she was bowling.
Yeah.
I'm sure she wasn't
could hear 300
using
pins
the
drop.
play on words, but seriously, 9 years old. I haven't bowled in a long time, but I used to bowl in a league, right?
Yeah.
Man, and that 300 game was always the thing that you... That was your life, was around that, getting that 300 game. And there are very, very few people who bowl a perfect game.
If I get halfway to a perfect game these days, I've done okay.
That's a strike.
Yeah.
Every
single
no spare.
frame.
That's a strike. Every single frame. Right. And that 9-year-old did it. Now, did she have a legitimate ball, and was it a legitimate length of the alley?
I smell a rat.
Yeah, I'm going to check this out here. Yeah, I think I smell a rat, baby, too. Okay. Hannah, I was just kidding. I don't hate you. I'm just jealous.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm filled with envy. John Nichols, when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's Week.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour now. Here we go on a Friday, December 20. Getting a big shout out to all of our good friends at Colatex Bakery out in Chicago. Colatex Bakery and Deli at 2445 Harlem Avenue for this great Christmas basket full of all kinds of goodies that we can't wait to dive into this morning. We've already started cheating a little bit on it.
A little bit.
Peter, you mentioned they have a website. It's Colatex?
ColatexBakery.com. KOLATEKS. ColatexBakery.com.
To Bart and all the good friends at Colatex, thank you for your support of WCPT,
That's right,
a big affiliate out there. And thank you for your kindness to us. Peace and joy indeed for this holiday. The time of the year when we have a lot of lists, we've seen a lot of them so far. The safest cars. We had one the other day for the classic movies of the year that the Library of Congress selected. Nation magazine is out at this time of year, every year, with the most outstanding progressives of the year. John Nichols, our good buddy, Washington correspondent for the Nation magazine, joins us on our newsline this morning from the capital of the progressive world in Madison, Wisconsin. Hey, John, good morning.
And the progressive state in waiting.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm great, Bill. Can I just say, I know we're going to talk about some of the folks on the list. You know that we just retired the radio title a long time ago, so it's actually the Bill Press Honorary Best Radio. That's a given.
When I got the list, I was looking, where's my name? Where's my name?
You actually did some bold stuff this year, and you stood up on some really tough issues, NSA things and others, and so I give you high marks. But I will say, before we get into the list, brother, it's only as of the last 24 hours, but I have to give my most remarkable living character from a Charles Dickens novel, and that would go to Congressman Jack Kingston.
Oh, what's Kingston up to the latest?
He suggested, he was at a speech over the weekend, a holiday party of some kind, where he's talking to Republicans.
I know what you mean. Go ahead. Yeah, I got it. Go ahead. Yes.
He said that, children in schools should do janitorial work in return for their lunch.
Right. Yeah. They should.
Sir, may I have some more?
They should sweep the floor in return for lunch. But wait a minute. Newt Gingrich said something like this a couple of years ago, didn't he?
But you're supposed to evolve.
I know. But
he advocated, having kids work in schools. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, right.
So, and would it be a charming thing? You race into the lunchroom and sweep around the tables of the rich kids, and then you can sit down and eat?
Just how they can sweep up the floors for their lunch. Whatever they find on the floor, they can eat. Whatever they find on the floor, they can eat. Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's the next step.
I think Kingston gets the award.
I would give it to him, too. Followed closely behind by Trey Riddell, this guy, the crack cocaine smoker, who came out of rehab yesterday and said he still believes that people on food stamps should be tested for drugs before they get their food stamps.
Whoa. Holding firm, brother. I guess it wasn't one of those sort of rehabs where you kind of, try to grow as a person.
No, not exactly. All right, let's go with the top progressives. Where do we start? In the Senate.
We gave it to Elizabeth Warren.
Good choice.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Well, she seems like a natural choice, I think, to a lot of people. Obviously, we've given it many years to Bernie Sanders and continue to revere him. But we gave it to Elizabeth Warren this year for a particular reason, and that is her very savvy use of her prominence and position. She didn't just vote right on a lot of issues. She also pivoted. When everybody was asking her a few months ago, "Are you going to run for president against Hillary Clinton?" She says, "I'm going to make a big statement." And then she comes out and makes a big statement about the importance of cracking down on too big to fail banks.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of flies the press. She uses her prominence to focus on issues like the TPP and on a lot of fundamental technical stuff that wouldn't get attention. So we think she's using that seat very well.
I could not agree more. I think she's shown so much wisdom and grace, and taking that over. I mean, she is a rock star, right? But she doesn't ham it up or lord it up. She just gets stuff done, right?
Some rock stars want to just sell records.
Yeah.
Some rock stars want to make music.
Yeah.
This one's making some music, and her speech she gave out at the AFL-CIO convention in September, which got too little attention because it came during a lot of the Syria debate. That speech, if you go back, anybody watches it on YouTube, you'll understand why people are paying attention.
Absolutely. How about in the House?
We picked a guy that you know, but not everybody does, and that is George Miller. And George Miller is chair of Education and Labor, been in the House since 1975, and a lot of people think, senior member of the House, we know he's a pretty good liberal guy, blah, blah, blah. People need to look at what George Miller's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy who, with Tom Harkin, cracked the double-digit number on minimum wage increase. President proposed a $9 increase, or $9 wage.
They took it up to above 10, right? 10.
And then he cheered on the fast food strikers.
Mm-hmm.
He fasted in solidarity with folks on food stamps. He fasted in solidarity with immigrants. And then when the Bangladesh factory fire occurred, killing more than 1,200, I think around 1,200 people in Bangladesh, most members of Congress, said, oh, it's too bad, raced on to something else. George Miller took his break and flew to Bangladesh to meet with workers, and then he came back and he said that unless policies are changed, companies like Walmart are going to have blood on their clothing labels.
Oh, wow. He's a great guy. I am proud to tell you that Carol and I went to Richmond, California, and walked precincts for Point Richmond, California, actually, and walked precincts for George Miller's first run for Congress. So
well, I think you got a good guy there, and I think it's important that we recognize that there are some of these members who they're not always on TV, they don't get as much attention always, but this guy was doing heavy lifting all year long.
At the state level?
That's an easy one. We picked as the outstanding legislator of the year Wendy Davis in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how can you not?
Talk about a rock star.
Yeah.
We've picked more obscure legislators in the past, and it's not just prominence. It's always what you do. But what Wendy Davis did in a matter of really 24 hours was electrify not just Texas progressives, but the nation.
She turned things around, didn't she? Yeah.
Well, she stopped a bad bill.
Yeah.
Outsmarted Rick Perry, which I know is not always difficult to do. but she really hit her mark strong, came out with a lot of passion, and then did what progressives ought to do. When you get a chance, when you get people listening to you and saying, we're ready to stand with you, she turned around and decided to run for governor.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's how it's supposed to work. You don't just rest on your laurels.
I don't see him on your list, but let's talk about how about the most progressive mayor?
Oh, well, the new one?
Yeah.
Bill de Blasio.
It's got to be, huh?
Well, the funny thing about it is this is what we did with the list. Because de Blasio's gotten so much attention this year, we did a most progressive or most valuable progressive municipal official, and we picked the woman who was elected with de Blasio, Tish James. Tish James will be the new public advocate of New York City.
Taking his place, right?
Taking his place.
Yes.
Number 2 job in the city. She is, number 2 to the mayor. And the interesting thing is, first African-American woman elected citywide. But more than that, she was someone who actually stood with Occupy and took Occupy themes into her campaign. She ran a low-budget campaign, very grassroots, a lot of labor, a lot of community, and beat more prominent people. I got to tell you, this woman, you look at her track record, she wasn't first elected to the city council as a Democrat. She was first elected solo on the Working Families Party line. So she's going to really rock that position. And I think this is the interesting thing. It wasn't just a progressive victory for Bill de Blasio, which I got to tell you, he is worthy of a lot of attention. It was an up-and-down progressive victory. And you really have a chance in this city to do a lot of great things. I think Tish James is going to be a big part of it.
It's going to be fun to watch. She got, by the way, 84% of the vote.
She did.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
And I got to tell you, you should see her campaign. It was, like moms and sisters out on the corner. This was not, some sort of millionaire campaign. And she actually said in her victory speech that her victory was a victory to or a message to Mayor Bloomberg. New York doesn't need more billionaires.
Yeah.
It needs more middle-class families making a decent living.
Boy, amen to that. How about in the administration?
We picked a guy who Tom Perez, who's the new Secretary of Labor. And we focused on him.
Good choice.
Well, it's interesting because we actually thought that his nomination fight told you everything you needed to know about the guy.
Mm-hmm.
They tried everything to stop him from getting in there.
Yep.
And the attacks on him were all over the place. But the bottom line is, as soon as he got in that job, what did he do? And we thought Hilda Solis, who was in there, was very good. But this guy, just started pushing out great regulations, great rules, and he hit the road for a more than $10 minimum wage, for protection for workers.
Yes.
We think he's really quite...
No, absolutely. And if you look at the Obama cabinet, they're all good people. But you wouldn't say any of them are like, out and out proud progressives or liberals, other than Tom Perez. Hilda Solis was too, and so...
I'm afraid they sort of look at that position as their progressive spot.
That's
because it's the one Robert Reich had.
That's where we stick the progressives, right?
I don't like that.
Oh, John. Hey, great list. And you know what? It gives us all hope because these are all hugely successful people. They are role models for all of us. We have to support them and salute them and cheer them on at this time of year. John, it's so great having you part of the program, and we thank you for all your good work for us in 2013, and we'll see you early in 2014.
I can't think of a better pleasure than being on with you, my friend. And
thank you.
Really keep the flags flying there in D.C., so thank you.
All right,
Have a great
thanks,
holiday.
John Nichols. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, John Nichols from The Nation magazine.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Do burning, aching feet, leg cramps,
Hey, a little bit of breaking news on the economic front. More good news on the economic front. It's just reported that the third quarter growth rate in this country has been revised upward to 4.1. The economy grew at 4.1, which is very, very robust indeed. A lot better than predicted. Here we go on a Friday morning. We love to bring you on a Friday morning, look back at our favorite sound bites of the week, and bring you our 5 favorite. We start at the bottom and work our way up to the top. Some really classic ones this week. Our ambassador plenipotentiary, Dennis Rodman, explains why, even though Kim Jong-un executed his uncle, why he's going back to North Korea.
Number 5.
I know he's waiting for me to come back, so hope we can have a good conversation about some things that's going to help the world.
Oh yeah. There they go. Dennis Rodman and Kim Jong-un.
Healing the world, one dictator at a time.
Yeah, you put them together, they're going to save the world. Well, you know what every child is asking this year? Not what is Santa Claus going to bring me, but is Santa Claus black or white? Megyn Kelly tells us.
Number 4.
In Slate, they have a piece on .com. Santa Claus should not be a white man anymore. And when I saw this headline, I kind of laughed, and I said, oh, this is so ridiculous. Yet another person claiming it's racist to have a white Santa, you know? And by the way, for all you kids watching at home, Santa just is white, but this person is just arguing that maybe we should also have a black Santa. But, you know, Santa is what he is, and just so you know, we're just debating this because someone wrote about it, kids. Okay, I wanted to get that straight.
Santa is white. Okay, so there it is. Just deal with it, folks. Deal with it, kids. That's the way. And Jesus was white too, by the way. She added that a little bit later. All right, whatever. What does this country need? You know what we need to save us? What we've been dying for, what we've been yearning for, is another Bush running for political office. Yes, we've had Jeb, we've had George W., we've had George H.W., and now we're going to have to deal with George P.
Number 3.
I'm George P. Bush, and I'm running for Texas Land Commissioner because I want to make a difference in the lives of all Texans.
Because my daddy told me if you don't run for office, we're gonna write you out of the will.
You're a Bush, son. That's what you do.
You're a Bush. You don't work for a living. You run for office. Don't you know that? Yeah, indeed. Boy, if you are at the University of Southern Illinois on the basketball team, you got a coach, Barry
Henson. Barry Henson. Yes, sir.
Barry Henson, who says, you know, my wife can play better than you.
Number 2.
Here, let's talk about our big guys. 2 for 11. How can you go 2 for 11? My wife can score more than 2 buckets on 11 shots because I know my wife will at least shot fake 1 time. But those guys aren't listening. They're uncoachable right now.
Uncoachable, says Barry Henson.
My wife.
Yeah, my wife. Yeah, and finally, we know the Mega Millions this week got up to $636 million. Winning tickets sold in Georgia and another winning ticket sold in San Jose, California at Ginny's Gift Shop, the owner of which is very happy. He's only owned the store for 4 months, but he sold the winning ticket. And he gets $1 million, and you bet he is one happy camper.
Number 1.
Today, very good day. I'm so excited because I win $1 million too.
And that's easily the clip of the week, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's got to be clip of the week.
Are you happy? He said, yeah. I won $1 million and you didn't. Parting shot next.
This is the Bill Press Show. Bill Press Show.
Well, I'm sure you've heard all the controversy about Duck Dynasty star Phil Robertson, suspended because of his comments to GQ magazine, where he first smeared gays, insisting homosexuality was a sin, equating it with bestiality, adultery, idolatry, and prostitution. He then proceeded to argue that segregation was really good for blacks. They were happy back in those days. They used to sing in the fields, and there was nothing wrong with that. Well, for his comments, we know Robertson was suspended by the A&E network, but Sarah Palin and others have now rushed to defend him, saying that his First Amendment rights were violated and he's the victim of anti-Christian bigotry, which is total nonsense. Look, as incredibly insulting as Robertson's comments were, nobody says he didn't have a right to say them, but his boss also has a right to fire him. And he's no Christian victim either, whether Robertson believes it or not. Not all Christians are homophobic bigots like he is. He deserved to be suspended. He deserved to be fired. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Have a great weekend here before Christmas, and come back and see us again Monday. We'll be here. Hope you are too.
This is the Bill Press Show.